Good afternoon, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for October 7th, 2014, around 5:50 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's cloudy out right now. It was sun and clouds today, some rain showers. We're going to get some heavy-duty rain in the overnight hours and early tomorrow morning, maybe some heavy winds and maybe a tornado or two. We don't know if it's going to happen or not. Some news to report. NBC Sports has announced it signed NHL insiders Bob McKenzie and Darren Dreger to appear on NBC Sports and NBCSN's coverage of the National Hockey League. Bob and Darren come from TSN in Canada, and TSN in Canada is only going to carry the NHL on a regional basis, so they'll be appearing in the States more. And also the NBC is going to have their own broadcast team at the NHL draft this year for the first time. And also one more day into the National Hockey League season, 2014-2015 season. It's going to be a very interesting season, to say the least, for the Boston Bruins and other teams. Well, we wait and see what will happen. And also 3 more days into UMass Lowell hockey team's 2014-2015 season. Puck drops at the Tsongas Center at UMass Lowell. Can UMass Lowell Riverhawks three-peat as Hockey East champions? We'll wait and see. And now, my next subject is about Major League Baseball on CBS. CBS first carried Major League Baseball games in 1955 with the Game of the Week. And the primary announcers on Game of the Week for CBS was Buddy Blacken and Dizzy Dean. They were the primary announcers for many years, and the games were usually on Saturday afternoons. In 1957, CBS added a Sunday Game of the Week as well to the Saturday Game of the Week for the MLB, and this package lasted about 11 years. Other announcers during the year CBS had the baseball Game of the Week were Pee Wee Reese, Jack Whitaker, Jerry Coleman, George Kell, Bob Finnegan, and Bill McAcone. And the Major League Baseball Game of the Week was kind of popular for CBS, especially Dizzy Dean, because he was the star announcer and stuff. And in 1964 and 1965, CBS Sports carried Yankees games of the week because they owned the New York Yankees beginning in 1964, but the New York Yankees games were not highly rated as the Game of the Week that CBS had. So in 1966, CBS dropped all of its baseball coverage for Major League Baseball. The Game of the Week went to NBC via ABC. And for the next 20 years or so, Major League Baseball was not on CBS Sports. And CBS Sports really wanted to get into the Major League Baseball business. A couple of times they made bids, but they lost to NBC and CBS and ABC. And in 1988, on December 14th, 1988, after conclusive negotiation period with NBC and ABC lapsed, CBS came in with an amazing big offer, $1.8 billion for 4 years for a contract which would exclusively give CBS Sports the Game of the Week, the All-Star Game, the National League and American League Championship Series, and the World Series. CBS became the exclusive network to Major League Baseball in 1990. And when they became the exclusive network for Major League Baseball in 1990, they made a lot of changes. First change, they got rid of the Saturday Game of the Week. They cut it from 26 games, that was every single Saturday during the baseball season, to 12 to 16 games. Got a lot of fans mad. But at this time, CBS had a lot of stuff for inventory. Like in 1990 was the last year they carried the NBA playoffs. Also, they had the College World Series. They had like PGA Tour. They had college football on a lot of Saturdays, so they couldn't put Major League Baseball games of the week. So they scattered them around mainly during the weeks where they didn't have a PGA golf event or any of these other stuff that popped up. And also the original plan, the top announcer was going to be Brent Musburger. He was going to work with Tim McCarver. And the second team would be Jack Buck and Jim Cott. April 1st, 1990, Brent Musburger got a pink slip from CBS because he was involved in too many events. They were saying he was getting too much power at CBS Sports. People thought it was an April Fool's Day joke, but it was real. Brent Musburger left CBS, and CBS had to promote Jack Buck to the top announced team with Tim McCarver, and the second announced team became Dick Stockton. And CBS's coverage of Major League Baseball started on April 14th, 1990 with 2 regional games, and they had one April 21st, and then they disappeared until like the summertime, and they lost a lot of money on the Major League Baseball games. During the 1990 All-Star Game in Wrigley Field, Chicago, they had a few rain delays, and CBS Sports had to cut, they actually had to show a rerun of Rescue 911 during the 68-minute rain delay. The 1990 All-Star Game was at Wrigley Field. And when the World Series came, the Cincinnati Reds swept the Oakland A's in 4 straight games, and CBS lost a lot of money. They lost $55 million the first year they had the rights to Major League Baseball. It was caused because of rumors of this, that they lost that money because the U.S. was in one of the worst recessions. The ad revenue for the playoffs and the World Series were very, very low. And also, they had like small media markets during this time in the playoffs. Oakland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh and Boston was a big market, but they didn't have like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles during this time. That would have probably helped if either team of those cities made the playoffs. That could have helped. 1991, CBS cut its only carried the game of the week on Saturdays about a dozen times. It was scattered about. They bypassed pennant races and stuff. And when the World Series, when the playoffs came in 1991, it was Toronto, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta. Toronto's not in the U.S. markets in Canada, so that affected the ratings. And Minnesota and Atlanta had the Twins and the Braves had an amazing World Series. It's one of the best World Series of all time. All 7 games were won by the home team, and Minnesota had won 4 games, and this was an amazing World Series. But CBS continued to lose money big time. They cut out pre-game shows before the playoff games. They had them in 1990, but 1991 they cut them out before each playoff game because they were losing money producing them. And also this time, CBS could not carry the hearings for Judge Clarence Thomas to go on to the U.S. Supreme Court because they were committed to baseball, because the other networks, ABC and NBC, were carrying it live, and CBS couldn't carry it live because they were committed to Major League Baseball. And also at the end of the 1991 World Series, CBS Sports dropped Jack Buck as the top announcer, and they replaced him with Sean McDonough, who was the Red Sox play-by-play announcer on WSBK-TV 38. And McDonough and McCarver were like the team in 1992. In 1992, the ratings continued to drop because CBS was not even carrying too many regular season games, and the All-Star Game and the playoffs and World Series, the ad time, they were losing big time money. And it didn't help in 1992 that the Toronto Blue Jays won the World Series. They took a massive hit in the ratings because of it, because Toronto's in Canada, and Canadian television doesn't factor into United States television. And also, CBS the CBS Sports feed for the World Series went to the CTV's feed as well. They used the same feed, the CTV, which was the home of the Toronto Blue Jays back then for games. And CBS continued to lose money, over hundreds of millions of dollars during the life of the contract. And in 1993, they dropped Dick Stockton from the top, like the backup broadcast team, and they brought Greg Gumbel to become the number 2 announcer for the Major League Baseball on CBS with Jim Card. Greg Gumbel was hosting the Baseball 90, 91, and 92 pregame show before the game of the week on CBS, and he became the number 2 announcer, and replacing him as the host of Baseball 93 was Andrea Joyce, and also Pat O'Brien was hosting the World Series and the League Championship Series and the All-Star Game. And CBS continued to lose a lot of money for the last season of Major League Baseball. A lot of the executives at CBS thought this deal was the worst ever. And in May of 1993, Major League Baseball went to a revenue sharing program with ABC and NBC for beginning in the 1994 season. CBS offered to renew it for only $120 million a year, but Major League Baseball did not take it. And then CBS's coverage of Major League Baseball ended on October 23rd, 1993, with Game 6 of the World Series between the Phillies and Blue Jays. The Blue Jays won that game with an amazing home run by Joe Carter, and the Blue Jays defended the World Series championship. And when it was all said and done, CBS lost $500 million on that deal they had with Major League Baseball for 4 years. Unbelievable. This cost CBS a lot of money. Plus, it cost CBS to renew the NFL deal in 1993, which came up. Fox stole the NFC rights from CBS in December of 1993. This deal caused CBS to lose the NFL as well for 4 years. It was unbelievable. A lot of people said this was an overbid. CBS just cared about the League Championship Series, the All-Star Games, and the World Series only. And a lot of critics were saying CBS should have got, if they really just wanted the All-Star Game, the League Championship Series, and the World Series, they could have had another network, like maybe NBC get the Game of the Week. Bob Costas said that Major League Baseball could have kept NBC and CBS. CBS get part of the postseason only, and the All-Star Game and the World Series, and we get the other half, alternate each year. But Bob Costas says baseball only cared about the cash. And also, the country went through a major recession at the time. A lot of fans were alienated because CBS did not carry the Game of the Week all 26 weeks. They carried select games during the regular season. And also, the country went through a recession at the time. And also, it didn't help that most of the time CBS, the teams in the playoffs, were either from small markets, like Boston and Chicago, during the contract, and also 3 out of the 4 years Toronto was in the playoffs. That didn't help the U.S. ratings because they're in Canada, and they didn't maximize it because they didn't have an extra round of playoffs back then, which could have helped sustain losses for CBS. And this was the last time that CBS Sports carried a major sports franchise, major sports league besides the NFL. And they tried to get Major League Baseball back CBS 2 times. In 1995, when the baseball network, with a joint venture between ABC and NBC, was going to be dissolved after the 1995 season. They were going to try to get back into baseball, like a new Thursday night package, and get part of the postseason and World Series with Fox. But that never came to pass. In 2012, they were going to partner up with Turner Sports because CBS and Turner Sports team up to produce NCAA men's basketball tournament, and they want to make a bid that CBS only gets the All-Star game in the World Series, but that bid was not seriously considered by Major League Baseball. And I think the MLB on CBS probably was one of the worst contracts in all of sports television, and it just kind of hurt CBS in the mid-90s when they lost the NFL and affiliates to it, because, you know, $500 million to lose on a deal is very bad. And, you know, I didn't really like the coverage of the Major League Baseball on CBS. I think something they really didn't care too much about Major League Baseball except the playoffs and the World Series. But they had a good theme song to it. It sounded like something coming kind of Field of Dreams. Do 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 do. That's the theme song, and that's about it on that. I'll be back later for my third and final video blog of the night, which will be about former NHL player Craig MacTavish, who's the last player to play in the NHL without a helmet. See you later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye.